Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7 So this is the next in a series of looks that I'm taking at the Last Jedi Novelization by Jason Fry, and today we are talking about another one of the elements that happens prior to the actual on-screen movie events of The Last Jedi, and that is Han's funeral. Now, if you cast your mind back to Star Wars Celebration Europe, where Carrie Fisher had her hour-long interview and time in the spotlight with Warwick Davis, Warwick asked her what she'd been up to, and her reply was Han's funeral, which of course made everybody go, "What?" and freak out over that situation because, oh my gosh, is that in the movie? And you can never tell with Carrie what is really happening. Well, as of this particular moment, when we were recording The Last Jedi, still has not been released on video, so we still don't know for sure whether this deleted scene, if you will, is actually something that was filmed or if it was something that was just written about but never actually filmed. And I probably should have said this at the outset, but this is a full spoiler recording. So if you have issues with it, if you are not ready to have The Last Jedi novelization spoiled for you, well, then save this for a later date. But if you're good with me talking about it, then yeah, let's continue. So the thing of this particular chapter in the novel, which is chapter 1 of The Last Jedi novelization, is that it really takes place very much in Leia's head. And so the beauty of this scene, I think, really would have been lost. I mean, it would have been touching for sure on screen, but for all the things that are going on in Leia's head while this scene is taking place, it is so much better in the novel than it ever could have been on screen. I mean, Leia is reflecting on how, as they were flying from the Death Star to Yavin 4 way back in the original Star Wars, that she stole a glimpse into Han Solo's cabin to try and figure out what kind of guy this was that was helping them out, and didn't really find anything personal at all. It was, flight manuals and other just random stuff that had no personal connection with anything. And she reflects that the only thing that was really unique or different or otherwise personally telling about Han was the pair of dice that were hanging in the cockpit of the Falcon. And there's another story that she reflects upon too, this one from Return of the Jedi. And this is one where if this was a deleted scene in Return of the Jedi, I would have thought it was incredibly awesome. So apparently Han carved what was supposed to be a little statuette of Leia while they were hanging out at the Bright Tree Village on Endor. And it was the night before they set out with the Ewoks to go blow the shield generator. So she carves, or he carves, I should say, this little statuette of, somebody, a figure with a spear, and Leia remembers that she thought it was an Ewok, and Han got embarrassed because it was supposed to be her, and so he threw it away, but she ended up keeping it, and she has had it for 30 plus years and puts it at the foot of a tree as part of the service to memorialize Han on Dakar at the Resistance base. Meanwhile, as Leia is memorializing Han, she says a couple of things that are probably flags for other media. So one of those things is that she mentions Han and the liberating of Wookiees on Kashyyyk, and that is a nod to Aftermath Life Debt by Chuck Wendig, the second of his Aftermath novels. And there's also a note about how Han never could tolerate bullies, and it was like that when he was a youth on Corellia. And I think that's a flag for Solo a Star Wars story. I think that might indicate something that we could see on screen in just a couple of short months. And she wraps up the memorial service by telling the gathered resistance fighters that they should save their sorrows until after the fight, a line that has a callback later in the Last Jedi movie. That's when Commander Darcy has a word with everyone about the fact that, Leia's out of it and Vice Admiral Holdo is going to be taking over. So there you go. That right there is going to wrap up our coverage of Chapter 1 of The Last Jedi novelization. Don't worry, I'm not going to be doing episodes for every single chapter of the novel, just the ones that merit some attention, like this remarkable one from the novelization. And that's also the meat of the podcast, too. And if you go listen to the audio version of the podcast at sw7x7.com/iTunes or wherever you like to listen to podcasts, there will be bonus material on the podcast for you to check out as well. So in the meantime, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.